Moving abroad sounds exciting. New country, new opportunities, a fresh start. But what happens after the first few months when the novelty fades out and the real life begins?
You need social interactions. You need to communicate with people, and a meeting over video is one thing, but actually having a drink, having a laugh, and being able to speak with someone who gets it is something completely different.
Because living abroad isn't just about logistics, it's about connection. And sometimes the people back home don't fully understand what you're going through.
The people that we knew from the Netherlands, they didn't really understand what we were going through because they just kept on living their lives. You put yourself out there, you step out of your comfort zone, you take a risk, you do something that is unknown. It's scary for a lot of people.
That's what this episode is about. The courage to step into the unknown and what it truly takes to build a new life somewhere new.
Try to integrate. So even if you don't speak the language, or if you're not willing to put yourself out there to learn the language yet, do something to meet people, because otherwise, what is the point? You're going back to COVID times. You will get isolated very quickly.
Isolation can happen faster than you think, but so can growth.
You've probably already made the step to live abroad. You're thinking about seriously doing that, do it. If you're not doing it yet, do it. It changes everything in your life. It changes how you perceive the world, widens your horizon.
Today, on Almost Local, the living abroad story of Josh Kennedy. Let's start.
Changes over time, of course, but the person remains the same. But currently, I'm a father of 2 kids. Not any plans to have a third one. But originally from the Netherlands, I am 33 years old. Been in business for over 15 years. Been living in the south of France for more than 8 years. Tried a lot of things, did a lot of things, succeeded, built, everything in between. We're probably going to touch on a few of those topics today.
Absolutely. First question first, I suppose, where are you from in Netherlands? Which region are you coming from?
I was born in Hilversum. I'm not sure. Have you ever been to the Netherlands?
I've been to the Netherlands, but not to Hilversum.
Everything is very close in the Netherlands, but it's called the media center of the Netherlands. All the broadcasting agencies and the television networks are there. It's a lovely place.
Nice. And you said you've been living in Nice in France for the last 8 years. That's quite some time. What brought you there? You left Netherlands and directly went to France, or there was something in between?
Well, I've been thinking about moving away from the Netherlands for as long as I can remember. I never really felt home in the Netherlands at all, to be honest. But my currently wife, back then it was my girlfriend, she wasn't very keen on moving abroad, especially not to a country where we didn't speak the language yet. But her father passed away when she was very young. Her father, I think she was about 6 years old, and her father passed away. And her mom eventually got to meet someone new, eventually. And he has been living here in the south of France for over 30 years. And then at some point, she announced to my wife that she was thinking about moving in with him in France, which came as a very big shocker to her. But yeah, so we discussed, and she said, would you be fine if we would sort of follow my mom to the south of France? I said, well, absolute pleasure. Couldn't be a better timing, because as you know, I always wanted to leave the Netherlands, and I've been pushing her around to see and go to other places. And now this is sort of the perfect opportunity to do so. So we ended up in Vence. They live in Tourette-sur-Louse, so it's very close. That was one of the requirements of my wife, that we had to be very close. I absolutely love it too.
Cool. I mean, interesting, no? Because the one who was pushing for moving abroad ended being the one pushed to move abroad. That's
Yes.
also nice. I mean, it's interesting, though, that you had this intrigue directly on you. Is it like a family thingy? When you grow up, you used to travel a lot, or?
I don't know. It's my brother, he passed away as well, but he had autism, and my parents discovered that at a very young age, when he was very young. So he was about 2, and he sort of stopped developing mentally. So that's when they knew that something was wrong. My father, he was more back in the day, so it was more traditional. He was always gone. He was always traveling. providing for his family, and my mom was taking
Mm.
care of us. And initially, he had plans to take a opportunity in Australia, if I'm not mistaken, and wanted to move the whole family. But that is the moment that they found out that something was wrong with my brother. So then that sort of stopped. But it's not something that they ever desired. They like traveling. They like going to cities, like seeing places. But I've never really heard them seriously speak about moving elsewhere.
Mm.
Whereas I mean, just when I literally crossed the border to Germany or to Belgium, that just felt immediately liberating to me. The idea of not being in the Netherlands, that just made me so incredibly excited. I still don't know exactly what it is, but I just always had that very strong feeling that I had to get away.
Interesting. And France, how has the expectations versus reality of the French Riviera
Where should
are
we start?
fitting?
No, I think it's for me. I mean, obviously, at first, I don't know how you experienced that yourself, but you are from Spain. So for you, it was the other way around, right? So you had the great culture, I would say, and the beautiful weather and all that. Then you moved to Germany, you mentioned.
Mm.
It is sort of the other way round switch that we made. For us, I mean, just having the sunshine, having a better quality of life, doing things that is not only about career and, having a faster car and a more expensive this and that. And but that made me really reconnect with myself and focus on the things that actually matter in life.
Mm.
Yeah, so that felt really good. But yeah, I don't know how it was for you. How was it for you to move to Germany?
I mean, I moved for work, so it wasn't really a decision of like whatever. So economically, it made a lot of sense. Winters were
Yeah.
way harder than I expected. Yeah, of course, I didn't have much expectations because it happened relatively fast. So I didn't had time to manage or create expectations of the place where I was going. No, let's say like this. So I went a little bit blank, but it's true that it at the beginning it was shocking, especially in terms of like temperature and climate. It was interesting. The first years abroad. Wanted to ask you actually, what were you doing professionally? What do you do professionally right now that allow you to say from one day to the other, oh, let's leave to France?
Yeah. So, well, my first venture was a web design agency. So my best friend, he was very good at making and developing websites, but he didn't like speaking with clients at all. We had once a very funny conversation because I was very good at the selling part, and I absolutely loved doing that. Still love doing it. But then when we actually started selling websites and selling projects, there was obviously some discussion about what the client expected and what they wanted and all that. He said,
Mm.
"Just take me with you in the next meeting because I want to speak with them directly." I said, "All right, let's do that." And the moment we sat and we spoke with the clients, with two people, and we walked out. He said, "Never ever do that to me again. Never bring me to a client meeting again. I just do the things behind the scenes, and you do that part." But yeah, from there it sort of grew. I mean, people build a website back in the days. It was 15 years ago, and still do. I mean, now it's essential that you have a website, but back then it
Mm.
was less essential. But yeah, people did that with a reason behind it. So I quickly found out what that reason was, which was that they wanted to sell something online, that they wanted to expand their business, something like that along those lines. So that's how it's transformed into a marketing agency. And then over the years, we have created and built several companies, sold almost all of them. And yeah, it has always been around marketing concepts and, providing a service and building service businesses.
Nice. I'm in the sector also, so I'm a UX UI designer, so I know what you're talking about. What about the first challenges, first things that you had in France when you arrived? Were you having kids already? The kids
No,
came afterwards.
the kids came later. Yeah, I mean, so many things. As I mentioned before, it sort of changes because you go through different stages as well. This is our eighth year, yeah, in the south of France specifically. So yeah, at first again it was very relaxed. You don't really have to deal with anything complicated because we traveled and we moved within Europe, so you don't have to apply for any visas whatsoever. So you can just take your stuff, drive, and then start settling in elsewhere. But the only real difficulty that we had, what I remember, is that we were obviously looking for a place to live. And I remember that in order to apply for a place to live, which was quite difficult,
Mm.
you would have to provide um, banking details. And to open a bank account, you needed a phone number. And
Yeah.
to have a phone number, to open to have a phone number, you needed a place to live. So it was like a vicious circle that you keep, yeah, like a loop that you're stuck in. So more those very specific things, and that's when you notice that you probably have this in every country. But that's sort of when you realize that there are so many procedures and things that have always been done the way they have been done for years, and no
Mm.
one has ever thought about a sort of exceptional situation, and no one is willing to make any exceptions in those type of situations. So that that was very difficult for us. I remember that.
Yeah, makes sense. I mean, it's this kind of small things that you give by granted because at home it comes automatically with the
Yeah,
fact of
yeah,
being
just
born there and that's it, like it's what it is. But then when you move abroad, it happens quite often. When does next locals come in the whole? I mean, maybe you can explain a little bit about the concept and like building communities and making friends abroad. When does this whole new project start?
yeah. I mean, well, the reason for being on the podcast is not necessarily to promote what we're doing, but the for us it was about a year after that we settled in here that we started feeling isolation. That was sort of
Mm.
the problem that we ran into, because at first, everything is good. You go to all the restaurants, you spend as much money as you can on avoiding all responsibilities of the real life. So you're just enjoying it as much as you can, all the touristic stuff. But then, even though we had some family living here, of course, my parents-in-law, you no longer have friends very close to you. You don't have any professional contacts here. So that is something that you quickly start missing. And
Mm.
even though I considered myself someone who is very easily able to just live by himself, sort of, as in isolated, that really starts to creep on you because you need social interactions. You need to communicate with people, and a meeting over video is one thing, but actually having a drink, having
Yeah.
a laugh, and being able to speak with someone who gets it is something completely different. And at the same time, the people that we still had back home, because we were not lonely, because you still have friends, you still have family, and so on. And the people that we knew from the Netherlands, they didn't really understand what we were going through because they just kept on living their lives. They did not put sort of everything on the line. It's a bit exaggerated, maybe, but you put yourself out there. You step out of your comfort zone. You take a risk. You do something that is unknown. It's
Mm.
scary for a lot of people. And most people don't understand that because you go to a country where you don't speak the language yet, where literally anything you can think of in your own language, you now have to do in a language that you don't speak. So it becomes suddenly very complicated to get stuff done and to start meeting people. So that's why we, attended a couple of events, but we noticed that, especially here in the region, it's a lot of people that have retired. They're much older than we are. And I'm not
Mm.
saying that they are unfriendly people or whatsoever, but they are in a completely different stage of their life. So we felt that a sort of younger demographic was underserved, and we couldn't really find them, but we knew that they were out there. So that's why we started organizing events ourselves. We initially called it a business networking community because,
Mhm.
coming from the Netherlands, everything is always about business and it's easy to talk about work. So I thought that was going to be most important. But through the years of doing that, we noticed that the majority of the people really came to find that social connection, to have a starting point where you can rebuild your social circles abroad. So that's how we came up with that.
Cool. How effective this has been? Like, how many years are you doing because it's kind of a normal thing. No, there is meetup.com, there is Facebook groups, they organize this thing. Why deciding to do something completely outside of that?
Yeah, it's well, the thing is that, so we've been doing that for 7 years. So it was about a year after that we moved here, and back then Meetup has been around as well. You do have Facebook, which is very commonly used still here. Facebook groups are very popular. But yeah, the thing with Facebook groups is not organized. was very difficult to find information. Facebook now, especially, is flooded with ads. It's just one big advertising platform. Meetup is very difficult to find a very good organized group as well. And yeah, and I also wanted to just do it myself because you have a different role when you are the host instead of being a guest. So then I'm more in a role of hosting. I come very often come across as someone who's a bit more extroverted, but I'm more leaning towards introvert probably. I would probably not come across like that, but it takes me a bit of pushing myself and pumping myself up to get in that mood and the right energy. Whereas if I'm hosting, I'm fulfilling that. I don't know if that
A
makes sense.
responsibility,
Yeah,
like
it's like that is my task and my responsibility to do. So that immediately makes me energized, and then it's no longer about myself, sort of.
has it worked? Have you
Yeah.
found the local young people and the foreigners, or what is the normal people who comes to these kind of meetups for you?
Yeah, so we specifically focus on people who are living abroad. So they typically have lived abroad or are living abroad. So they, well, we've literally met people from all over the world, which is much. It has grown into something so much bigger than we initially expected and ever dreamt of that would happen. And in terms of what it did for ourselves is just incredible. Literally, my best man from at our wedding, I met him there. Any person that I can think of right now that has been a client that we work with, that we go out with, dinner, games, whatever. We've all met there through the thing that we started. I think it is going to be a question that is. Because I've seen some few other podcasts on this, will probably return in one of the quick questions. Now that we have two young kids, we also meet people in school.
Of course.
But other than that, everything through the community, which is absolutely amazing.
Cool. Nice. Good that it worked. No?
Yeah.
What about the challenges? Because it's something that some majority of us who lived abroad has been in one of these meetups at some point in our life. And you can see that sometimes there is like a kind of strange environment in certain meetups and challenges sometimes of making the first connection, or like that people makes groups and
Yeah.
they already met someone, why coming back? No, that they already have their group and they disappear somehow. What is the biggest problem, challenges that you face while you organize them from the other side, from someone who is organizing them and not attending only?
I think, well, what we see in our community is we've had more than thousands of people. So over the past 7 years, we've seen a lot of people from lots of different backgrounds, and you do see a lot of people returning. And I think the most difficult thing that you would see and experience is that you have people that are not fully committing to integrating in a new country. So they sort of still live, as we would say in the Netherlands, with one leg in the other country and also here. So it is sort of trying to pick the best from both worlds, but it doesn't work like that. So you cannot have it all, right? So if you live here, that is my belief and my opinion, you should commit to fully integrating in the country where you live if you want to make it work. So if you are planning to move after a few months or after a few years, that's fine. There's no judgment. But if you really want to make it work, you need to put yourself out there, put in the work as well. And if you want to have a friend, you need to be a friend. So you cannot just to show up once and then just swap information and then expect that you have a new friend for life. You need to spend time together. You need to ask questions. You need to open yourself up. You need to invite others into your house or even follow up after the meetup.
Yeah.
So I haven't really experienced any very awkward situations as maybe this is giving myself too many credits or compliments, but we do our best to make people feel welcome and, it's not focused on exchanging business cards or you don't have a name tag or whatsoever. It's really just focusing on connecting with others and trying to find a connection. And we have hosts as well who are trying to make that possible. So I haven't really experienced any awkward situations, but the only sort of difficult situations for people that I've seen is that they try to build a relationship with someone, but then, they disappear for months or they just leave the region and then they sort of feel like they have to start over
Okay.
again and then don't want to invest another lots of time into someone else.
Cool. Perfect. I would say we jump to the fast reply questions and we see a little bit of this integration to France and what it is life in there.
Yeah.
First question that I have is cultural adjustment. What thing took you a while to catch up with or adapt?
A few things, but it goes a lot slower here. And then everything. I find that very difficult to adapt. At first, I find it very liberating because that was sort of the thing that I was frustrated with in the Netherlands. But then at the same time, it starts to frustrate you. So if you want to have something done, and I'm not being very negative about France now, but it is just my observation and my personal experience. You know, if you work with a plumber or whatever, or an insurance or
Mm.
something, and it needs to be sorted, you send out an email, you try to phone them whatsoever. You cannot assume that it is going to be taken care of. So you have to keep that on your list to make sure that it is being done in the upcoming weeks. And then that list grows because people do not follow up. And that is very difficult in terms of getting things done, and the slower pace of things is also something that I had to get used to because I was used to moving much faster. And here it's about, all right, it's fine, but take a step back, relax, don't try to do everything in
Mm.
right now, and take your time. Let's build a relationship, and which is good, but it's also very difficult.
Makes sense. Next one is social life. How do you usually meet friends? I mean, you have already half responded to it, but is there any other extra way of meeting maybe locals, for example, instead of other foreigners?
I'm not sure. We haven't really tried that much, but the other thing that I did, but I also created a community for that, and then I closed it once it served its purpose. But if you do something that you love doing, so for me, it was skateboarding, for example.
Mm.
So I had not picked up a skateboard for a very long time, but here in France, I reconnected with a lot of things, such as skateboarding. I picked up guitar playing again, playing the guitar. I tried snowboarding. I went paragliding, things like that. So if you do something, it is much easier to connect with someone. So instead of just trying to chit chat about nothing,
Yeah.
try to pick up a hobby that you once loved or something that you would love to explore. There are lots of, I don't know how it is in Italy where you live right now or how it was in Germany, but
Mm.
in any country, there are so many. I mean, we are with billions of people all over the world. We are not that unique. So if you like something, there is a very good and big chance that there are a few other people very near to you that like the same things.
Sharing hobbies are always a great way.
Yeah.
What about language? How necessary it's to speak French? I mean, you move. I know you said that you moved without speaking French. Did you learn? How difficult was it?
It was very difficult because I didn't speak any French. So that is not a good start. I wouldn't say it's absolutely necessary at first, but to fully integrate and make your life much easier, I highly recommend at least putting in the effort to have a basic level of understanding of French so that you know when people make fun of you and things like that. But at least even if it's to just understand, because it's really frustrating if you are in a country where you don't understand what is happening. And basically, what you hear very often is that people don't understand the bureaucracy and the paperwork and
Mm.
things like that. But in fact, France notorious for its bureaucracy and paperwork. The processes are almost always very well described, but it is in French. So you have to look it up online. And I
Mm.
think they even translated most of the pages right now, but it is out there. So if you do some Googling and some reading, and now with AI and all that, you no longer have an excuse not to find it, but it is out there. So if you have a basic level of understanding, it helps you a lot to understand the letters that you're receiving, to understand what you need to do. Um, I'm not
Makes
sure if you're
sense.
going to ask where you should start to learn it.
But learn it, at least learn it. That's for
Yeah.
sure. What about the cost of living? Is it
Yeah.
cheap, expensive?
I think it is a general problem in the world, right? The cost of living has been on the rise for years, especially after COVID. It has been horrible for anyone. But yeah, at the same time, we also make I mean, there are lots of things that people spend money on nowadays that are absolutely non-essential. So we have like millions of subscriptions and we're buying cocktails for 20 euros just for fun. So it really depends. I think a very misconception that people have about this region specifically is that you have to be a millionaire to live here, as in,
Mm,
lots of
yeah.
it's known for lots of richer people that are doing financially very well are common here, and that is true. And that definitely drives up the price here in the region. It's one of the most expensive regions of France, and Paris is the other one, and some other places. So yeah, generally speaking, is not cheap. But again, you have lots of locals here living as well. That just, I mean, the salaries in France, if you have a job, which I don't have, but if you have a job, it's not that they pay a lot of money, so people are able to survive on a normal salary. But yeah, you will probably have to adapt your living to that. We personally
Hmm.
spend quite a lot of money. That hurts, obviously, but that gives us a very nice life, and we work hard to do that and give our kids the life that give them basically the youth and childhood that we want as well, wanted to have.
Nice.
Not that we had it bad, but you know what I mean.
Better. Let's make it. You touched upon it a little bit before, like finding a home, finding an apartment, how difficult it is. How is the process normally?
Yeah, you get stuck in a loop here, so you need some sort of a way in. But usually, there are quite a few websites. The thing I find very frustrating here in France is that, especially coming from the Netherlands, quality of housing is very difficult. The difference, I should say that the building quality, things like that, is completely
Okay.
different. So you find, all the houses don't live up to our standards, and not
Okay.
being trying to be superior whatsoever, that everything in the Netherlands is so good. But because in the Netherlands, the weather isn't very good, people tend to spend the majority of their time in the
Mm,
office and at home. So they spend a lot more time and effort into creating a beautiful interior. Whereas here in the south of France, life is lived outside. So they go to places, they meet on the beaches and things like that. So having a very neatly designed home is not much of, yeah, is not really an urgency. So that is something that I found, interesting to see. So that was sort of, I really had to get used to that. And you do have some websites that you can find properties, such as Se Loger. But yeah, the problem with that is that real estate agents are not really putting into any time, energy, and effort to list the properties correctly. So they just walk around with the oldest phone that you can think of, just snap one or two photos, and that is it. You have to do it with that.
mm,
And one practical advice is that it's also very difficult to meet the criteria if you don't have a French contract, and if you
okay.
have not registered sort of in France yet, and you only register once you have a residency, because they don't have a basic registry of all the inhabitants, so they
Mm-hmm.
do that based uh, on the address
Residence.
where you live and your income tax. So what they have, the landlords, they use an insurance which is called assurance loyer impayé, if I'm not mistaken. Anyways, it's an insurance to protect the landlord from rent that is not being paid. So instead of a very difficult and costly procedure to get you out, they can recoup the cost through the insurance. So the insurance company is actually the one that is asking a lot and setting a lot of requirements for you
Okay.
to be able to apply and qualify. So there is a way to bypass that and to make it easier. And there is a website called Garant Me, which is a massive insurance company, but they solve that problem. So if you don't have, or if you have foreign income, or you have savings and you don't have an income, and or you only have
Mm-hmm.
documents in a different language, you can use them. They are your guarantor, so they help you with the negotiation, and you have to pay for it, of course, but then you can bypass all that trouble. So that is a golden tip I give.
Cool. Nice. And I think that's the kind of tips that we are looking for. Uh, next one that I have, it's living like a local. This thing that you do to blend in, or a mistake that you should avoid to not stand out.
Yeah, I mean, speaking the language is obviously one of them, but living like a local is, I would say, the dress code could help at some point. As in, you could always spot the people from the UK and the Dutch people and all that. You can really pick them out. So, to give an example, what you very often see is when Americans people from the UK come over, then you see them wearing shirts in
Mm.
say the winter now, and yeah, that you can immediately pick that up. So if you want to blend in like visually, just wear what everyone else is wearing. And in terms of behavior, the most important thing is that you adapt to the sort of politeness that they have. So always greet people.
Mm,
Depends on where exactly you are, but we all always greet people. That also, yeah, just helps opening up, start some small talk. And what definitely helps is, yeah, well, it again comes back to the language. If you, and I would always turn that around for people. So if you just thinking back, in your home country or your the country of origin, if someone would approach you in a completely different language, just speaking their own language, and assuming that you understand them and expecting you to adapt to them in your country, that is usually not being taken in so well.
mm.
That is, yeah, treat others how you want to be treated as well. Try at least make an effort instead of just trying to speak English or whatever language you try to fire at them.
I mean, being from Barcelona, I know quite a bit about that approaches of, and I agree.
Yeah.
Next one that I have, it's work life. How do you describe the work culture in the south of France?
Horrible. It's I am actually changing that and doing something about it. So it's a different project. That's the project that I'm personally most focused on. My wife now runs the Next Locals project.
Mm,
That yeah, it's a beautiful place to live, but to work, and especially it's good to start like freelance work. It's decent, but if you want to grow past that, if you want to build a business where where you hire talent, try to build
mm,
leverage and actually push forward and thinking bigger, it becomes very, very difficult. So yeah, you don't have a lot of people supporting you. The bureaucracy is not in your favor. You have suffocating taxes and so on. But if you are an entrepreneur, that does not stop you from trying to achieve what you're trying to achieve. And there are ways. And the way that we do it, at least how I do it, is by having a place where you can openly and honestly speak about your business while also being mentored and guided by those who've done it. I think that makes a huge difference. So if you're not here in the south of France, yeah, it's I mean, if you go to places like Silicon Valley and all that, that's a very
mm,
well, Barcelona actually is a very good example because a lot of things are happening right there, right now. You have, yeah, the proximity to opportunities and
mm,
people come together, right? So there is a lot of things happening and everything is very close. And Paris is similar. Lots of investors there, lots of capital there, lots of people building stuff. So here it is difficult. It's very scattered. The region doesn't naturally have any in the industry, for example. So it heavily relies on tourism. And yeah, most ambitious people, they go to Paris.
yes.
And the majority of people that have succeeded here, they have a successful business outside of France. So they just come here to relax. So it's a very unique mix. Yeah, it's challenging, but again, it's not impossible.
Nice. So trying to create the hub. Next one that I have, it's getting around. Do you need a car? How is the public transport? How does it work?
I never used any public transportation because we live in Vence, so which is a bit more up in the mountains. So
Mm,
we definitely need a car to get around. So if you would just go to the village, people are starting to get used to bikes. So we do see a few more bikes here. But if you're not yeah, training for the Tour de France, it's it's usually very dangerous to be on a bike, and Uber and those services don't really exist in the mountains. So you really need a car, and in the city it's best if you just use the tram and the bus. I've never used it, but I know lots of people who do that, and they say it's super cheap, it's very easy to get around, and uh
cool. Next one, it's healthcare. You had two kids in there, so you know it pretty well. How is the system working? Is it easy to access the quality? How does it?
that is on the other side. As I said, it's a beautiful country to live. So in terms of that, that is incredible. Honestly, I couldn't be any more positive about the healthcare. I was there witnessing how my wife gave birth to our two boys. We chose to go to a private clinic because that is also, first of all, it's closer to our to where we live. and we wanted to pay for that experience. So there are a few things in life that you can pay for to give a better experience. And this is something that we consider we're spending money on. So we
Mm-hmm.
were planning to reserve a bit of money for that. And then we found out that the total cost came to about 6,000 euros, which was, but I'm not finished yet, but because then we had to do some digging in what we actually had to pay ourselves. But that gave us like don't want to say penthouse because it wasn't on the top, but it was like a very big apartment where you
Okay.
can, with obviously the pregnancy, the maternity bed where you can relax with the shower and things, all that, but also breakfast served, lunch served, dinner served, a balcony, an extra room, a bed, a table, a lounge set, anything that we wanted. Excellent service in terms of hospitality and just being helped. And that was budgeted including the delivery. So you had to pay for the anesthesia, the gynecologist,
Okay.
everything included 6,000 euros. But then so because you pay taxes, which is a very obvious system, you pay social contributions and you pay income tax. So in France, the social contributions are a bit higher than the taxes. But because you pay taxes and because you are part of the system, you already qualify and benefit from the sort of basic insurance from the government.
Yep.
It's a little bit complicated, but they have a base percentage that they reimburse for certain,
Okay.
so and they set the amount. So I will save you the details how it exactly works. If someone wants, just send me a message and I'll happily explain it. But so apparently, from that 6,000, the majority of that money was already being reimbursed by the government.
Okay.
Yeah, because you qualify for it, and then you can take out an additional insurance to cover the rest. And so out of pocket, we paid about 100 to 150 euros for delivering in a private clinic, everything included, including again dinner, but also anesthesia, all the things, everything. And on top of that, the government also gives you money because you give birth. So they give
Uh,
you a sort of contribution because you cannot work. So they pay you. It's not that you can really live from it, but in total, it is quite a good amount of money. So yeah, very good. But this is only delivery. But in general, the healthcare is excellent. You have to do some looking around to see what is reimbursed and what not. So that really change what you pay. But generally speaking, it's really good.
nice. And now probably the contrary, bureaucracy, paperwork, dealing with
Yeah.
residence permits, etc.
But, yeah, that one is more tricky. But I have to say because I like to lean into the cliches and the stereotypes because it is true. But they are also very forgiving. So if you take a look at the government, for example, the tax office, uh, and that is sort of the other side that I mean, there is not much of an urgency to say. So very often you receive something and then you realize that they've made a mistake. So that happens a lot more often than you think. So don't be afraid to push back and ask them to provide evidence or ask them to tell you why you should be paying that and that it works like that, because often it's just a human error. But then, for example, the tax office, if you have to file your income tax declaration, instead of trying to figuring it all out by yourself, just send them a message. I have no idea. This was my income. This is how it works. Can you help me fill it out? And within in a day or two, they help you. Um,
Okay.
yeah, just do everything for you. So in that sense, is really good. Some things can take an incredible amount of time, such as renewing or applying for a driver's license. So if you have
Uh,
to renew it and you have to change it, in our case, that was from a Dutch driver's license to a French one, which is an option. You don't have to do that, but we decided to do that. Then you are probably waiting for I mean, that can take up to more than 12 months before it's actually being replaced. And there is not much
wow.
going on in between. It's just, processing time. And then suddenly you just receive it. And then
I'm complaining about this right now because my driving license expired. The one the Spanish one, and I needed to do the change here in Italy, and it's taken 6 months to give me, which means I cannot drive because I don't have an active license.
Yeah.
I was complaining, but knowing that it was 12 in France, I'm not complaining anymore.
6 months is still a very long time to wait.
Yeah, it is.
Especially if you don't know when it is going to come and if it's
Exactly.
going to come.
It's a plastic one. It doesn't.
Yeah, shouldn't take that much time though.
I don't know. Okay, I have two more. The next one, it's the best and the worst, like the best thing of living there and the worst thing of living there.
I think we sort of already touched on it, but the best thing is the quality of life. So just being, I mean, having sunshine does a lot. And that as well is a cliche, but it does change really a lot. It changes your mood. It changes how you feel. It changes how you perceive everything. You start drinking a lot more alcohol as well, which is a choice, but those are the best things. I mean, the people are happier because the weather is good. You spend more time outside. You spend time doing things. You know, you're not stuck watching Netflix all the time and just having that sort of daily commute as in work and then going home, just eating your dinner, television, and then to bed. And so you get more excited about doing things. So the quality of life is incredibly important. And that at the same time is also the most difficult thing because that makes the professional side a lot more difficult. So that makes your career side more difficult. The more the sun shines, so the closer you get to countries and places where it is warmer and hotter, the more difficult it is to get things done. So people take their time. They are less punctual as we would know from the Netherlands, from the UK, US, Germany, and so on, Scandinavia. So yeah, that is the most difficult thing. And then, but it's does not even compare to all the benefits that you get. It's just a price that you have to pay, and that is fine.
So the balance is still in the positive side. Good.
Absolutely. Yeah. Otherwise,
last one that I have, top tip, the one line advice that you would give to someone who's planning to move there.
Oh gosh, yeah. I mean, I have a few tips. Top tip: try to integrate. So even if you don't speak the language, or if you're not willing to put yourself out there to learn the language yet, do something to meet people. Because otherwise, you know, what is the point? If it's just you and maybe your partner, you're going back to COVID times. You will get isolated very quickly. You know, we need social interactions. We are social human beings. We need to go to places, do things, and push yourself to go out your comfort zone. I mean, because if you're looking at this podcast, you've probably already made the step to live abroad, or you're thinking about seriously doing that. Do it. If you're not doing it yet, do it. It changes everything in your life. It changes how you perceive the world. It widens your horizon. You start thinking in possibility, and the world just starts becoming a much smaller place and world of opportunities. So do it. Try things. Put yourself out there, and yeah, mate, you only live once.
Perfect. Thanks a lot for all the responses. I would check in the time. I will do a couple or three of the mini game that I prepared. I call it like foreigners, social red or green flag.
Okay.
Basically, I would give you a behavior mindset sentence that you could hear in and foreigners meetup situation, and you can tell me if it's a red flag or it's a green flag for you, and a little bit why.
Okay.
First one, it's the sentence, I'm only here for 1 year.
Yeah, red flag.
I always wait to be invited.
A red flag too. This is a red flag interview.
Yeah, it looks like. I mix locals with internationals.
Oh, that's a good one. That's a green.
Nice. I'm here only because of work. I think you touched about that.
Yeah, well, it's tricky because it is not necessarily red or green. I mean, also with the one being there for a year. I mean, even if you want to spend 3 months somewhere or a year, it's not necessarily bad. It's good. It's good that you get the experience and all that. But if you would be speaking with someone who is there for the long term, it will be more difficult to build a long-term relationship because they know that you are going to be gone in a few months or a year anyways. So just some elaboration on that.
It's an orange flag. My social life, it's the same expat meetup every week.
That's a red flag, yeah.
Clear one. Last one that I have, I only go to this kind of events if I know someone inside of it.
Yeah, that's bad. Just, yeah. You will meet people through people. So it is related to the previous question as well. You can go to the exact same event every week, which is fine, as long as the people that are coming there are every now and then mixing, mingling, switching, and just stirring up again as well. So it's important that you build relationships. So you need to keep seeing each other. But yeah, it's also important that you meet people. As for if you don't have connections and friends, it's more important that you have enough
Connect
people.
with someone. Yeah.
You need to connect with someone. You need to find a connection. So you need to
Perfect.
widen your cast a little bit.
Cool. Josh, before we close the episode a little bit, I give you a little bit the floor if you want to talk a little bit more about Next Locals, which we already introduced a bit, or if you have any other project you were talking about,
Yeah.
more business related one. What is on your plate right now and how listeners can get involved or in touch with you?
Yeah. Well, again, it's not using this podcast to promote anything we do necessarily, but if you are living abroad, we've experienced that ourselves. And we touched on it, can become very isolating. So that is why we created a community for people living abroad, so that you have that starting point. Because through people you will meet people. So if you ever want those social gatherings, we have now expanded out of the region as well. So we are setting up in different cities. And the most important thing for our concept to work is that we have someone locally who understands the city and is bringing people actively together. So if you are interested in becoming a host and opening the city with us, just send us an email. You can find all the information on nextlocals.com. We've also a mobile app. We've developed that, so I'm very excited about that. It's still in the early stages, but it is working. It's functional. So download the app. And yeah, if you are on the French Riviera, I run a private business network for service businesses that want to build something bigger than themselves. So if you are a freelancer looking to hire a talent, for example, and just build something bigger than the what we call here the micro-entreprise, which is the very small freelancer regime, then you need a place to talk about your business, the things that you're going through, and you need guidance from people who've done it before. And that is exactly the type of thing that I offer and do. And that's
Amazing.
all Business Club Cordoglio. So I'll share the links.
Absolutely. The links will be in the description of the episode. So if you want, you can check them out there. Josh, thanks a lot for explaining your journey, your experience, and also what you built and what you are doing right now. I think it's very valuable for the listeners to understand that they are not alone in that isolation first moment that all we of us has passed, and that there is communities behind trying to build something more and possibilities to meet people. It has been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
It has been a pleasure as well. Thank you so much, Mark, for inviting me over. And I can't wait to see the episode. See myself.
For the listeners, as always, if you enjoyed, don't forget to subscribe and like, leave some reviews, give some love to Next Locals and the projects of Josh. Also, until the next time, keep exploring, stay curious, and see you in the next episode.